Hey guys, it's me, Mercury. Welcome back to the channel. I just. This is what if Deku was a Saiyan. Now, it ain't going to be a quirk, and he ain't going to be from a different universe like some people I've seen do. But he's actually going to be Inko's child, and, well, the same part comes from Hisashi, though. It's kind of limited in his side of the family. Y'all see what I'll mean when y'all watch the video. So I hope y'all enjoy the intro, and I'll see you there. We see a green-haired woman holding her baby. Now, it's been a couple minutes since she... It's been a while since she gave birth. About 30 minutes. And her husband isn't there. Now, she knows that his job keeps them away from him. And she doesn't blame him. Now, she'd wish that he'd take more time away from the job. Or that the job would at least let him stay with him for a while. But the job doesn't. And, well, her husband comes rushing in, only to find out that their child has already been born. And she can tell that he's disappointed in himself. Well, she decides to try to comfort him. And she hands him the baby, telling them to look at their son and to hold him. Now, about a minute after she gave him to him, she just watching them until she sees her husband's eyes widen. And then he closes his eyes and sighs. Well, she's curious. Why would he do that? It doesn't make sense. I mean, unless it's his quirk. I mean, he does have that tail. Does he know about it? And so she decides to ask him, do you know what his quirk is? So far, all we know is that it's the tail. And he gives a sort of detailed answer. Yes, it runs in my side of the family. Some in my side of the family, get this quirk. It's an extremely powerful quirk. And, well, from what I've been told, it has its fair share of downsides. Now, he goes into talking about the downsides, such as the weakness of the tail. That is, if it's grabbed, they'll basically lose all function of their body. And they won't be able to move, or, well, yeah, they won't be able to move for quite a while. They'll be paralyzed. And he talks about more of the dangerous sides of the quirk, such as a transformation. Now, he doesn't know exactly what the transformation looks like, but he knows that it's extremely dangerous, and that it's taught in his family that if you do have a child with this quirk, that they are to not see a full moon. And they would never exactly tell why, and just say that it's extremely dangerous. And, well, if he does see a full moon, we'll have to leave and run away, or we could potentially lose our lives to it. Now, Inko, as curious as she was not as frightened as Hisashi thought she would be. And she says, well, that's just something that we'll have to work on. Well, ain't it? Now, Hisashi smiles at his wife and says, yeah, that is. And so, a couple years pass. Inko and Hisashi have been keeping a close eye on their child, keeping him away from the moon, and warning him not to look at the moon, specifically the full moon. Now, they've noticed some strange behaviors in him. He'd always be running outside. I mean, yeah, but the strange thing is that he'd be punching stuff just randomly. He'd go over to a tree and start punching it. He'd go over to the side of the building and start punching it. And, well, they noticed that he'd punch other kids. Not necessarily just punch them, but a play fight. And, well, they noticed every time that he got into one, he seemed to learn faster. Now, Hisashi doesn't know what this is, and he's never really been explained too much about the quirk, just the downsides. And that on the good sides, every person with the quirk must learn on their own. Now, he was told that there are some techniques, or there is some way to for the person to get control on the full moon, during the full moons. But that it's been lost. And nobody knows how it got lost or why. And so, yeah. I think it was 3 or 4. Let's say 3. Forgot how many years I said. Let's say it's been 3 years since his birth. And all that's happened. Now, Hisashi got a couple weeks break from work. And, well, he got it because he took up an offer. An offer that he very much does not like, but an offer that they need. He'd be going over to America. And he'd be working there. Now, he wants to spend as much time as he can. So he said he'd take that offer as long as he can at least spend a month with their child. And he'd leave on his 4th birthday. Well, after his 4th birthday. Now, they agree. And, well, Hisashi starts looking up places where they could go, spend time as a family. And, well, he saw that this old couple's renting out a log cabin in the middle of the woods with basically nothing around. And that they'd be dropping off food supplies and stuff for them every 2 weeks. Now, Hisashi knows his son's eating habits. He eats a lot. And, well, he decides to take it up. And decides to bring a bunch of extra food for his son. Now, he goes home. It's the end of the day and he goes home and, well, he talks with Inko. Now, she's worried about the full moons that will happen. And he says that they'll be extra careful. And, well, will cover up his window on the outside with a tarp or something so he doesn't see the full moon. Now, Inko hesitantly agrees to this because she has a bad feeling about it. Not an extremely bad feeling, but she just knows something will happen. And well, mm, 2 days later, they're on the road and they're heading to the cabin. Now, Izuku's extremely excited for this because, well, their family's actually going out on a rare occasion because his father usually works most of the time and he's happy about it. Now, Hisashi and Inko have noticed his growing curiosity. And, well, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a curiosity of the world. And, well, he tends to find stuff that they can't even find. He once found, let's say, hmm, he once found something that Hisashi believed he lost. Let's say it was his father's sword. No, his father's staff. Now, every person in his family has always been trained in a staff. And they've eventually made up their own fighting style for it. And yes, Hisashi has learned it, and, well, he won't be able to teach it to his son. He can leave tips and stuff for it, but that's about it. Anyways, about a day, and they arrived, no, let's say 2 days, and they arrive at the cabin. Now, Izuku, with his curiosity, or that's what they think. Well, yeah, it's curiosity. Izuku, with his curiosity, starts to roam around. And, well, he stops dead in his tracks and looks towards the woods. And, well, he turns towards it and just slowly walks over there. And he starts to wave. Now, Inko, she was wondering what their child was doing, and Hisashi too. But he figured that he must have, well, unlocked the ability of his quirk. And Hisashi knows very little about the positive side of the quirk, as he's been told. But he does know about two things. One, they can fly, because he's seen that. And two, he knows that they can potentially sense other living beings. And that's what he's guessing Izuku is doing. So he's sensing something alive around them. Well, in that direction. And lo and behold, a deer walks out of the woods where he's waving and looking. Now, Inko and Hisashi step back in surprise because they were not expecting a deer. They were expecting a dog or a squirrel, something. Not a deer, because, well, let's be honest, deer usually run away from humans. And there are a few exceptions, but mostly run away. And the deer walks up to Izuku. And Izuku pets it and starts playing with the deer. Now, Hisashi's laughing, and Inko's slightly worried because, well, she doesn't want her child to get hurt. And, well, days pass, more animals come, and Izuku's just playing with them. And they notice that he's using his tail more. And, well, they're kind of curious. So, one of the days, they watch him. And it seemed like he's listening to them. And starts to climb a tree. Inko's wanting to run out there, but is being held back by Hisashi, and they're whispering to each other. And Hisashi calms down Inko. And they see their son climbing a tree using his tail, along with other parts of his body. And they notice that he's climbing it pretty fast. And he's making decisions, and he's actually doing pretty good. He's going for sturdy branches and not weak ones. Almost like he can tell. And, well, they watch him for the next few days just doing this. And they notice stuff like around the house. He starts picking stuff up with his tail. And, well, that goes on for quite a while. Now, Hisashi doesn't want to touch his son's tail because he knows the downside to it, and so does Inko. But they decide to see if he's doing what they think they're doing. And so, one day, Hisashi asks if he can touch his son's tail. And this confuses Izuku, wondering why his dad wants to touch his tail. So he brings his tail out in front of him, just lets him touch it, says, okay. And so Hisashi touches it, and nothing happens to Izuku. Now, this surprises him, because he was right. His son is training his tail. How does he know? And, well, he thinks back to all the animals. Could my son talk to the animals? And, well, it's possible. I mean, there are some cases that they get a second quirk along with this quirk. But could it be? Now, he doesn't want to take his son to the quirk doctor. Because he knows that this quirk won't show up. But now he's wanting to. Because, well, he's wondering if his son has a second quirk. No. This goes on, and they're all having fun. It lasts for about a month. The next full moon is coming up in about 5 hours. And Hisashi completely forgot about it. And so did Inko. They've been doing so good. And, well, they thought they conditioned their son to go to their room and, well, sleep at a certain hour. But they let their son stay up today. So they sit down, watch TV as a family, and 10 o'clock rolls around. And the moon is near peak of the sky. Now, Izuku stands up and goes to the bathroom. Now, there's a window in the bathroom. And as soon as he walks in there, he sees the moon. As soon as he stands underneath the window, he sees the moon. And he stands there for about a minute before he starts growling. And and it's quite loud. His parents hear it and they're wondering what it is, so they go in there and open the door and they see him growing. He's getting taller and, well, he's growing fur. This confuses them until they notice that he's looking out the window, and they realize that it's a full moon tonight, and they completely forgot. Now, Hisashi grabs Inko and just starts bolting out the cabin. Now, about 20 seconds later, the cabin is mostly destroyed. And, well, a giant ape is standing where the cabin once stood. And it's rampaging around and they're lucky because there's nothing around for miles. And, well, Izuku steps on a boulder, a sharp boulder. And, well, he gets mad and fires a beam from his mouth. Now, this surprises Inko and Hisashi. Their son can fire beams. If he can do it there, in that form, could he do it in his original form? Now, he starts firing beams, and a couple forest fires in different spots start to happen. And, well, the next day arrives. A lot of the forest has been burnt, and, well, Izuku is finally transformed back. Hisashi and Inko got lucky that Inko got lucky that she sustained minimal damage, and Inko sustained minimal damage, I believe I said, and Hisashi, he's hurt. Not life-threatening, though if not taken care of properly, could lead to a life-threatening situation. He's got a couple broken ribs, a concussion, broken nose, a broken leg, bruises and cuts all over. Because sometime during the night, Izuku, well, he found them. And Hisashi decided to lead Izuku on a goose chase, which got him hurt. But he's extremely lucky to even be alive. Now, Inko loads both of them up. And of course, she gets clothes for Izuku. She rummages through the house and finds clothes for Izuku because the clothes that he was wearing tore when he transformed. She loads them up into the car and, well, drives as fast as she can to a hospital. And it takes her about roughly a day. Close to a full day. And, well, she picks up her husband and Izuku and takes her husband into the hospital to get him treated, and Izuku to, well, because he passed out. And they say Izuku's just fine, that he's just exhausted. And Hisashi, well, he'll need to stay there for quite a bit because of his injuries. Now, I'm going to leave that off here. I hope y'all enjoyed and had a good day. I'll see y'all later, and peace.